Hey everyone, welcome to Neural Notes, show where AI comes alive. Smash that subscribe button and ride the innovation wave.
Hey there, and welcome. So today we're going to explore this incredible world it's right inside your own head. We're talking about the fascinating field of cognitive psychology. We're going to unpack what it is, why it's so unbelievably compelling, and, how the simplest things you do every single day, like just recognizing a face or reading a sentence, are actually hiding a whole world of incredible complexity. All right, let's start with, the classic textbook definition, just to get our bearings. At its absolute core, cognitive psychology is the scientific study of the mind and its mental processes. So, to put it another way, it's the science that's all about understanding how we think. But of course, that definition immediately brings up a much bigger and, honestly, a more interesting question. When we say mental process, what are we actually talking about? What does that even mean? Let's try to break that down. Okay, so think about your own experience for a second. You just go through your day perceiving the world around you, right? Seeing things, hearing things, touching things, and it all feels completely automatic. It's effortless. It doesn't feel like something you have to try to do. It just happens. I mean, you just open your eyes and boom, the world is just there in full, vivid detail. But is it really that simple? Is that the whole story? Or is that feeling of simplicity just masking an incredible amount of work happening kind of under the hood? So, let's look at something we've all seen a million times. A CAPTCHA test. You know, those squiggly words you have to type in? Well, its whole reason for existing is to separate humans from machines. And think about it. You can read those distorted letters in like a split second. But for a computer, it's a huge challenge. And this little test, this is our first big clue that your brain is doing something really special. Some kind of complex calculation that is surprisingly hard to copy. Okay, so to really dig into this hidden complexity, let's zoom in on a very specific problem. It's one that perfectly illustrates this challenge, and it's something you've probably done thousands of times without thinking, telling the difference between a dog and a cat. So the task sounds ridiculously simple, right? You get a grid of animal photos, and the instructions are just click on all the dogs. I mean, most of us could do this in a few seconds, tops. We wouldn't even have to think about it. But hang on. Let's just pause for a second and really think about that. How are you actually doing it? What is your brain doing right now to tell the difference between all the dogs and all the cats in those different pictures? Are you looking for a specific kind of nose? Or maybe the shape of the ears? The type of fur? Probably not, right? Because think about it. A Great Dane and a tiny Chihuahua have completely different features, but you instantly know they're both dogs. So clearly, there isn't one simple checklist you're following. So how on earth does your brain solve this puzzle? Well, the data from back around 2008 tells a really fascinating story. Back then, the absolute best computer programs could only get this right about 10% of the time. 10%. Now, humans, on the other hand, we were hitting about 83% accuracy. That is a massive gap. And it just goes to show you how incredibly sophisticated this supposedly simple task of perception really is. So, here's the key takeaway. The really crucial point. That effortless feeling you have when you pick out a dog from a cat, that's the result of a massive, super sophisticated computation that's happening inside your brain. It's not simple at all. Your mind is just so good at it that it feels that way. And this incredible computational power, it isn't just for telling cats and dogs apart. Not even close. It's really at the heart of everything our mind does. So with that in mind, let's zoom out a bit and take a quick tour of all the other amazing things that cognitive psychologists get to study. I mean, the field covers such a huge landscape. We've got perception, which we've been talking about, but then there's attention, how we manage to focus on one thing when there's a million distractions. There's memory, that unbelievably complex system for storing and pulling up our past experiences. We study knowledge itself, like how are concepts even organized in our minds? Then there's imagery, our ability to see things in our mind's eye, and of course language, maybe our most complex tool of all, plus problem solving and reasoning that let us figure things out. And here's the kicker. Every single one of these feels just as automatic as seeing, but just like perception, each one is a whole universe of hidden complexity. Now, a pretty cool way to think about all these processes is to kind of group them into two big categories. On one hand, you have the more basic cognitive functions, things like perception, attention, basic memory. A lot of these are things we actually share with many other animals. But then, on the other hand, you have what we call the higher cognitive functions. We're talking complex language, abstract reasoning, deep problem solving. These seem to be far more developed and maybe even unique to us humans. So, when you boil it all down, this is really the core idea of what we've been talking about. Even the most straightforward, simple seeming mental task, one that feels totally effortless, has a mind boggling amount of complex computation going on behind the scenes. And the whole goal of cognitive psychology? It's to figure out exactly how all of that works. So the next time you effortlessly read a sentence, or you spot a friend's face in a huge crowd and instantly recognize them, just pause for a second. What you're witnessing is nothing short of a computational miracle, a silent, incredibly sophisticated performance happening right inside your own mind. And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? What other everyday miracles are we all completely overlooking?